And then let me welcome everybody in to the show, to the Cold Hard Truth on Sports, that is now tuned in on the Spreaker app or listening to us via podcast on SoundCloud or YouTube. Thank you, whoever you are, for listening in, and whichever way you have chosen to tune into this wonderful show tonight. A lot to go over. Like I said, NFL wild card, looking forward in the NFL playoffs, national championship game. But as promised, and what I was getting into, is a little bit about Nick Saban's exit. And I was asked, who do I think is going to retire first? Bill Belichick or Nick Saban? And I can't say for sure. I don't know. It's tough. I would imagine Nick Saban would first. Just simply because I think Bill Belichick is more eat, breathe, lives football. And I think Nick Saban has another life and another career in broadcasting after his coaching career. And I mean, he's making more. I know a lot of people made a big deal. 10-year, $100 million, $10 million a year. That's great. I mean, Saban makes what, 11 something? Is that what it is? Do you have that? Can you pull that up for me? Yep. Put it over here on the screen. All right. Yeah. So, say his not on that screen. Okay, so he made $11.13 million in 2017. 1.13 million more than John Gruden will make. I think the big thing that I really want to lay down for people is, at 66 years old, fishing boats and armchairs are a lot closer than they are at 46 years old. He's won 6 national champions. He's tied Bear Bryant. And he's won 6 legitimate national championships. Let me be clear on that. 6 legitimate national championships. Alabama has some national championships. Kind of like UCF has a national championship. Yes, they decided the University of Central Florida, for those of you that haven't been paying attention, the University of Central Florida went 13-0 this season under Scott Frost, winning the Peach Bowl by beating Auburn, the one team that beat both Georgia and Alabama this year, the two teams that played for the national championship. And it wasn't even close. Like, Auburn dominated them both. And then they turned around and got dominated by UCF. UCF ended up winning by only a touchdown. Ended up coming down to the last play of the game to do so, but to hold their lead. But they clearly showed that they belonged playing with the likes of these teams that were considered in the playoffs. Beating Auburn showed that. They beat Memphis twice, and they beat USF. I mean, these are all top 25 teams in the last ranking. I don't want to go too far off on the tangent. I'll get back to Saban here in just a second. But in the final rankings, UCF is 6th. But USF, what's the deal with this? USF is 21st, and Memphis is 25th. Auburn is... Where is Auburn? Auburn's 10. And by the way, in the final vote, the Associated Press, only 2 teams got votes for the number 1 for the Associated Press ranking. Alabama and UCF. Now, I wouldn't mind, and I would kind of appreciate in a way if Alabama and UCF were able to split the Associated Press National Champion. I don't have an issue with that because it's the Associated Press. It's their poll and their championship. Now, a lot of people take issue with this, but that's the thing is like, if I'm looking at it kind of from a perspective that a lot of other sports, like boxing, you can have somebody, different organizations, WBO, WBA, IBF, IBO, WBC. There's different organizations that have belts. And just like there's different organizations, different polling in football that hand out national championships. So the Associated Press National Champion with 57 votes is Alabama. And UCF has 4. It's 4 members of the Associated Press that agreed that UCF should be the national champions. And their athletic director paid out bonuses like national championships. They had a parade on Sunday like they were national champions. They will hang a banner that says national champions, and they'll have rings. I can only assume that they have national championship rings that they will give to all of their players and the coaching staff. I wonder how they present that now that the entire coaching staff is at Nebraska. And one of the Verdal, is that his name? Vedral. I think Vedral is his last name. Vedral. He's a Nebraska kid. He is one of the quarterbacks there. He's transferring. Now, UCF said their players can transfer. They cannot transfer to any school within they'll block transfers from schools in the AAC and to Nebraska for obvious reasons. It's understandable. However, they will not block walk-ons. So, clearly, in a tweet that says, "I'm coming home, go Big Red, Huskers," he's probably going to walk on. Now, he's a true freshman. And he still has a redshirt year left. So he should be good. So again, I mean the three. If we look back over this in this final voting, Alabama has beaten Georgia, Clemson, lost to Auburn, and has beaten LSU in the top 25. So if we take top 25 wins, Alabama has one more win, but also has a loss. Top 25, they have 4 top 25 wins and a top 25 loss. UCF has 3 top 25 wins and no losses. I mean, even Clemson, we could say Clemson. Clemson has 2 losses, right? Clemson's loss, can you remember that far back? Clemson's loss came to Syracuse, 27-24 at Syracuse. Syracuse is known for kind of doing these little upsets, and then they get throttled, and they've lost to Alabama. I understand. Where am I going with this? What I'm saying is UCF solidified themselves as a team that did belong in the mentioning of these playoff teams. I think if you have 6 teams, where I think it's best fit for 6 teams, UCF is number 6. I don't think without a doubt. And if it expanded to 8, I would be okay with that. But you can't go more than 8. You really can't. And I don't believe that conference champions should get an automatic bid. However, if you win your conference, then it does weigh heavy on it does weigh heavy on you, on the committee, having you in the top 8 teams. But the funny thing is I'm just looking at the top 8. These are the 8 teams that I would have chosen to be in an 8-team national championship. Is this Associated Press? Okay, so I would say Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, UCF, Wisconsin, and Penn State. Those are the 8 teams I think should be in an 8-team tournament, without a doubt. I don't know how Miami is ranked below SC and Notre Dame. I think Miami should probably be 10. Auburn has 4 losses. Even Auburn, they have losses this season to Clemson, LSU, Georgia, and UCF. All really good teams. So it's not just simply about what conference a team is in. We got to let go of that notion. I think, for example, we'll end up getting to the point to where Lane Kiffin and FAU are going to be kind of contenders for something. This year they were not. I know Kiffin did well. They overperformed for the past, how they have been in the past. They lost to Buffalo, okay? They lost to Navy, and they lost to Wisconsin. If they beat Navy and they beat Buffalo, come to me, and we can talk about a top 25 finish with one loss coming to only to Wisconsin. But just putting up points in garbage time is not changing things. So this is one thing that my advice to those that look at this, garbage time is no longer where legends are made. So it's getting there. It's going in the right direction. He got a new 10-year contract. He's not going anywhere for a while unless it's to the NFL. I'm telling you. Garrett's safe for another year, but I think that's probably the fit. That's probably the fit. All right. So, like I was saying, back to Nick Saban. James asked him a question at Media Day. It was basically like, why are you so hard on your players and coaches, and with the softer side? When do you decide to be the softer side? When do you let that out? Or, trying to get more, draw more from it. But he had a moment. He said, listen, I don't think I'm hard on him. I think I'm demanding. He said, I don't think I'm hard on them. I think I'm demanding. And within reason. Because, as the whole thing goes, is where greatness is expected, greatness is required. You don't get great by being good. So it's expected. But there is more of that interpersonal. There is a softer side, a more human, dare I say it, to lack better words, side to Nick Saban. And he wants to win. He has a system. And I don't mean like a scheme system. I mean a system. He has literally created a system the same way that you would create like a McDonald's. He has a menu, a look. He has everything that what you need to wear, how you construct the burger. He has all a system. He has essentially built it like a franchise. So whoever comes in as offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, players, they will work and fit within his system, or they'll have to go somewhere else. And he's done it with a number of coaches. I mean, Bo Pelini was a defensive coordinator. And by the way, don't be surprised if you see Bo Pelini at Alabama. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we'll get into it a little bit more on Nick Saban's exit, as well as the national championship game. You're listening to the Cold Hard Truth on Sports on the GoLong Media channel on blogtalkradio.com.
A long time ago, there was an ancient prophecy on the outermost edges of space that knows no boundaries. This fall, Earth as we know it will never be the same. One man, one weapon. Critics are calling it the best comedy of the year. From the makers of the Internet, this is his last chance to save the world. But then, the world does not exist.
Man, forget all that. Just download my special, man, or get the DVD when it's available.
They will search for answers.
The link's posted below.
Welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth on Sports here on the GoLong Media channel on blogtalkradio.com. Thank you, everybody, wherever you are and wherever and however you're deciding to listen to the show tonight. Much appreciated. Now, some of you listen live over on Blog Talk Radio. Some of you, more and more of you every week, download the free Spreaker app. It's pretty awesome. Tons of you listen to us on SoundCloud each and every week, the podcasted version, or over on YouTube. Tons of content we got up over on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And you can reach me on Snapchat. My direct handle is Matt Long Sports. It's been a really long day for me. Kind of dragging here a little bit. Came straight here to get on the air from the dentist office. So, from the dentist office to the studio and on air. So, it's been a very eventful day. So a bunch of people over on Instagram kind of sharing the show over there. See what we got going on here. So, all right, we'll get back into it now. I'm a cable hooked here. Get back into it. All right, we'll get back into it now. For those of you that want to call in, you can call in 347-237-5539 is the call-in number. 347-237-5539 to call in. Yes, I know some of you are asking about Kevin. He's under the weather tonight, but you can still go buy his books, the P.K. Frazier novel series, and read them. Not while we're on the show, but later. Very fun. James will be joining us a little later, as well as Steve Smith. So, a lot to get into still. So, I was talking a little bit about Nick Saban's exit.
We'll get back into it now. For those of you that want to call in, you can call in 347-237-5539 is the call-in number. 347-237-5539.
All right. And that's to call in. So, I was talking a little bit about Nick Saban's exit. 66, won 6 national titles, tied Bear Bryant for most national titles won by a football coach. 5 at Alabama, 1 at LSU, and with that little connection, don't be surprised if you were to see Bo Pelini pop back up, maybe being the defensive coordinator after Pruitt's exit. So, that search is continuing. Jeremy Pruitt leaves to go to, officially yesterday, the Tennessee head coach. So, yeah, some of the top people that I've heard, the top 5 people I've heard to replace Pruitt: Derek Ashley, Tallahassee native, 2 years. It was 2 years at in Alabama as a defensive back coach, and also had a stint at UCF, Tennessee, and Kentucky. So, he's one guy. There's John Chavis, who is Saban's very familiar with. He's been in the SEC as a defensive coordinator since 1995. He spent more than a decade at Tennessee as a defensive coordinator. Then was at LSU as a defensive coordinator, and was in his 3rd season at Texas A&M. Obviously, Jimbo Fisher's there now, so new direction there. Other guy is Gene Chizik. Gene Chizik kind of fits that mold. He got into a bit of a trouble with a young woman and a motorcycle. But they're very familiar with one another. Not much more I'm going to say on top of that. Taj Lapoy, he's another guy that he's 36 years old. He's one of the up-and-coming guys. He's really... Some people put him very high in value. He's been widely viewed as Alabama's top recruiter and as one of the top recruiters in the country. So, and that's a guy within the system. So, also there is Kevin Scherer. Kevin Scherer is grad assistant at Alabama from 98 to 2000, and then the Tide's director of player development 2010 to 2012. He has been mentioned by SI and ESPN, who mentioned him. He's been on Georgia. He's been over there with Georgia. He was a outside linebacker coach for a while. I think in 2014 for Georgia, and was one of the possibilities to replace Pruitt there. Now, Pruitt may try to lure him to Tennessee. So, I could see that happening. I could see that happening before him going to Alabama. There's a bit more familiarity there. On the other hand, the guy that nobody's mentioning really has been Bo Pelini. Bo Pelini was a defensive coordinator when Nick Saban won a national title at LSU. So there's obviously, and Pelini went on to be a head coach. Actually, went on to be a defensive coordinator at Nebraska, an interim head coach, and eventually the head coach. Doing very well. Did very well. Never won less than 9 games in a season and then got fired. Obviously, things are working out for the better now. And there's a crazy thing about that. So, there's a former Husker that I talked to the year before Bo got fired. He said Nebraska will challenge or play for a national title in the next 5 years. And Bo Pelini will not be the head coach. But it'll be a Husker. This was 5 years ago. Not even 5 years ago, let me see. Bo Pelini's last year, so 4 years ago. 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. So 3 years ago. 3 years ago. He told me that. And it's crazy. Because now, the odds of Nebraska winning go up tremendously. The hope goes up tremendously. With Coach Frost being there in Lincoln. Huge change. So let me get to the game. I'm trying to read through messages and stuff here. You can message into the show if you want. Tonight, I might stray away from the messages because I'm a bit exhausted tonight. Very long day today. Very long weekend. A lot of travel involved in the last, basically from Friday to today, about the last 5 days. Tons of traveling. I drove from Central Florida to Atlanta, so Central Georgia, 5.5 hour drive to and from. And then we had the trips all around Atlanta for different events. and then walking, carrying equipment. It's been a long 5 days, and then other business stuff I've had to attend to as well here in Florida. So, a lot of driving. But almost didn't have a show tonight. Almost didn't. Kevin's sick, so he couldn't do it. James couldn't start the show, so but really close to not having a show tonight. But I thought it was important. I promised, kind of tailing in on the Nick Saban, and I think I'm going to put it into an article as well. So I'll work on that as well, getting that up on the site. But he's closer to the end of his career than the beginning. And he's won 6 national titles, 2 different places, and he's been able to do this with the system. And the difference is Saban is going to stay connected with the school. He's not going to go anywhere. I don't think he takes an NFL job. I know a lot of guys say, oh, well, he just never did it. He didn't have a quarterback at the NFL level, and he got fired because he didn't get that quarterback. Had he got Drew Brees, would Alabama have these national championships? It's just probably no. He's probably in the same position in Miami that Sean Payton is in New Orleans. Comfortably sitting there coaching a team. And, he went 9-7 and then 9-7 and then 6-10. And the 6-10 is what got him fired. But he ended up with Culpepper instead of with Drew Brees, which could be in the world of difference. But he knows what the NFL is. He knows what the college game is. And he gets the gratification from the process, from the creating, from sharing. He's competitive as hell, and he wants to win. But he has kids and grandkids. He likes fishing. He enjoys his home in Florida more than he does the one in Alabama where it gets cold. So, again, I kept telling people about Lane Kiffin. I mean, he likes it. He likes Boca. He likes Fort Lauderdale. He likes that area. He likes going out on a boat. He likes living on the water. He's not leaving South Florida to go to another college and deal with the cold. Small towns. Wildly erratic fan bases. He just won't. If he does it, he'll go to the NFL. Lane Kiffin's not going anywhere anytime soon. Unless it's to the NFL. But Nick Saban, I think he's a bit close to retirement. He has a second career lined up in broadcasting. And I think he'll probably end up being, one of the next greats when it comes to the broadcast analysts. Him on one end, maybe Jimmy Johnson on the other end, it'll be something like that. But let me go to the phone lines. Let me welcome in our guy, Steven Smith. How you doing tonight, Stevie?
What's going on, Matt?
What's going, man? Listen, it's been a long... I don't know how you be doing the driving, man. I see you be taking these road trips. They are draining, man. Draining.
Oh, yeah. That trip is no joke.
5.5 hours, bro.
Yeah.
And then I had to go back and forth to Tampa Monday and Tuesday. So that's another 4 hours.
You was on the muscle, man.
That's another 4 hours of driving. It's like an hour or something each way. So that's like 4.5, 5. It's another 5 hours. So it's 10, 15, like 15, 16. From between Friday to today, it's like 15 or so hours of driving.
Yeah. It can be tough, man. I done it plenty of times, man. You know, especially when I lived in Atlanta, having to drive here and drive back there. Like I drive down on a Friday and have to go back Sunday straight to work, you know. So it's tough, man. It can be tough.
That's kind of what I ended up doing, almost, you know. Because I got back here at like 8:40. Yeah, I left at like 3 o'clock. I got back at like 8:40. But the cool thing is having the Prius, the hybrid, from Atlanta to basically Gainesville. That's one tank of gas. So like 4.5 hours of straight driving is one tank of gas.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have my routines. I stop in Valdosta or a little bit further out and get something to eat. That's when I usually get gas. So and I do the same thing when I'm coming back. It's just a routine, you know. And I'm almost to the Florida line, so I always stop there in Valdosta.
You know, I was kind of disappointed because I've been back and forth there a couple times. And I think that the Florida-Georgia line, 75 there should be some bigger thing that says, you know, welcome to Florida or welcome to Georgia, you know? I think that there should be some sort of clear welcome sign that is extravagant enough to get people excited. You know what I mean? Because that's the main... There's two main interstates that go north and south. Come into Florida. 75 and what's the other one that goes at 95? Is it 95 that goes down to Miami?
Yeah.
I mean, put a big ass sign up.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't even know I was in. I couldn't tell the difference. Like everything looked the same. Like I crossed the border. I'm like.
Right. That's just that North Florida, Georgia area, you know.
Well, I take that back.
That's like that too.
I take that back. The roads in Florida are remarkably better than the roads in Georgia.
Oh, that's bar none.
That's the
I don't know
only
if you saw
difference.
The roads in Atlanta. I don't know if you saw roads in Atlanta. They're terrible. I don't understand how people have tires longer than a year though.
Bro, I was looking at the roads like, did they? And you could tell it's just old as shit. But they were so old. They look like the roads, you know, when they grind up that top layer of the road because they're gonna lay down new asphalt. It looked like that, but it wasn't that. It was just old as shit. And then I swear there was a whole part of, I think it was 475 or something like that looked like they did grind up one lane of the road and then just left it for years. Like, I'm like, Jesus.
There's certain parts. I mean, this at night in Atlanta, there's certain parts on like 285 that is scary as hell. There's like no lights. Like, if you were the only car on the road, the only lights you're gonna see is your light. And it's a highway, man. It's 4 or 5 lanes.
Yeah, I know.
And you go around these curves, and I'm like, yo, in Florida, we light up the highway, bro. We don't have no dark areas. That's not what we do. They don't even care.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe
in Tampa. I don't know.
Maybe in Tampa and Orlando they do.
Some funny stuff over there.
Right, you get out here, like the neighborhood I live in out here. Man, we got the whole street got like 2 street lights, and you can't. And they're so whack, you can't even tell that there's street lights there. You know, like it's tough. It's like because it's kind of out in the country though. So, but it's not.
Right, and you know.
And then if you go on from Tampa,
used to be like that.
You know Bushnell? Bushnell?
Yeah.
You know when you get to Bushnell.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like interstate. Because like after you leave like Wesley Chapel, New Tampa, then you start to notice there's those the highway, the lights on the highway are further apart. There just ends up being more construction. And that's where that light comes from. It's more so the construction than the street lights until you get to Bushnell. Bushnell, they got like 900 lights like on the bridge, both sides of each lane on both sides. So it's like literally has lights that are backed up to each other. And it's just like all lit up. It's like, and there's really nothing in Bushnell. Like it's like when I say a trailer park, I don't mean a trailer park. A campground. That's what it is. An RV park. That's like all that's there, and and you drive past it, and then it's just like more construction and darkness until you start seeing like X-rated. It was an X-rated novelty store at the Wildwood. Villages exit, and then that road. What is that? Was that 4? What road is that? 4. Can't remember what highway that is. 484. Yeah, 484. That's 484 that takes you over into Wildwood by Russell Stover's. It intersects with 301.
Yeah, I used to stop there.
And then you take 301.
Used to stop there all the time back in the day.
Yeah, you go north. 301 north takes you through Wildwood to Oxford, Summerfield, Lady Lake, the Villages. You go south, it takes you to Coleman, back down to Inverness, that way. So it's like, but yeah, in and around the city, you're like you're not gonna not see roads anywhere like Atlanta, like Orlando. I can't think of any places in Orlando or Tampa that are like that, like 280. Like it wasn't even. I remember we was coming back to the hotel, and James got off on this exit to go back to the hotel because we stayed over in College Park, and it was a bridge. It was like a tunnel to this bridge, and he just rolled up in it, and I'm like, oh, because I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at my phone. I looked up, and all you see is a wall, and I'm like, oh shit, and it's like, and it curves around. I'm like, dang, this is dark as hell, and it was the exit, to get off the interstate there to get to. Into College Park, and it was just like, it was dark as shit, and it was a tunnel too, and I'm like, dude, where are the lights at? So this seems very dangerous. Like, where are all the lights? And the roads are like all messed up. Like, who's the mayor in Atlanta? What did he get elected on? They just spent this money getting the national championship game in Atlanta. They've been trying to push to be one of the host cities for the U.S. to have a World Cup, but the roads look like that. It's kind of terrible.
Yeah, they definitely don't have it. They don't have it in Atlanta. You would think that's why they don't have it together, man. You know, that's why they call Orlando the city beautiful, man. We don't have roads like that, and a lot of those roads out there are narrow in Atlanta, man. I remember being like, damn, how does a car fit on this narrow road?
Yeah,
y'all are a big city. Y'all got to do something like this.
Me and James were even talking about that downtown. We walked over from the Mercedes-Benz over to by where the Sheridan is downtown. It's like 8 blocks, right? We just hoofed it. But we're walking down there and we're like, dang, these buildings, like, the buildings are so close together. You know? It's like, it's so narrow. It's 2 lanes, one going each way. But it's like, it seemed like the sidewalk was as wide as the road, you know? It's like, it was just so close together. It was so narrow. And it seems like the streets, like they have an awkward amount of curves and turns and twists. It's like, why you do that? Why? This seems awkward to navigate. Like, you can't, it's like you can't tell people to go north or south, turn north, head south. You can't, because it's northeast, southeast. Then the northeast takes you to the street that turns north. So stay north on the same street that was going northeast. It's like, what? See, we were talking to somebody up there that people go there and they try to do like Uber or Lyft, and they don't know the back streets, and they just get stuck in traffic and they burn their gas up. That's what they say. It's all about.
Majority of the people in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's like you if you don't know the back streets, and you wait in traffic the whole time. So it's.
Majority of the people in Atlanta don't know the back streets. That's why there's traffic. They don't know how to take back roads. Then on top of that, a lot of the back roads aren't made for you to really take advantage of. As you can see, case in point, the condition of the road. You don't want to take those back roads. They're terrible.
Man, if I lived in Atlanta, I'd have a tire shop. A tow company and a tire shop.
You make a killing, man. Yeah, you'll make a killing.
See, that's what it is.
Big time.
That's what we're gonna do. We'll do a tire company and tow shop. You know, it's kind of like transporting. You know. Yeah. So, what'd you think of the game, Stevie?
My intake, I feel like that game. I'm gonna tell you what a lot of Hurricane fans said. They said what Kirby Smart had was like what Miami had when Larry Coker took over the team. All he had to do was win. Mark Rick left that man some of the best tools in the nation. And Kirby Smart got outsmarted. So, I don't know, man. Georgia should have won this game, but they didn't. You got to give Saban all the credit for making that decision at halftime to go with Tua. I mean, I kind of got scared when I saw he got in the game because I knew what he could do. So, I give Bama all the credit in the world, man. I give Saban really the most credit for outsmarting a former assistant of his. And the thing that gets me, the last 13 minutes of the game, you don't give it to the running back that's been giving you the most yards, the one that if they got in the backfield, he was still breaking, Sony Michel. Like, I understand you like Nick Chubb and you're trying to force him or whatever, but Nick Chubb wasn't working last night. Sony Michel was. So as a coach, you got to look at that and say, are we trying to promote Fromm and Chubb, or are we trying to win a national championship?
You know what?
In that case, he failed
Chubb
to
played,
utilize one of his best players when it was time to win.
You know, I got that sense from Nick Chubb at the media day. He just seemed deflated and detached. Like he didn't play the same way in the national championship game as he did in the semifinal game in the Rose Bowl against Oklahoma. I mean, he ran for 150 some yards and a touchdown. Wait, 1 or 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had a tremendous game. Just Sony Michel ended up having 3 touchdowns, and particularly the touchdown that won the game. So he got a lot more attention, you know. But it just seemed deflated. He didn't want to be there. He's just like he's ready for whatever's next, you know. And it's like Smart was force feeding it to him. It's like, here, go do it. And I don't think his heart was all the way in it, or his head wasn't. One of the two. Something wasn't all the way in it.
Well, I mean, when you get blasted in the backfield and only get 2 or 3 tough yards, a lot of running backs are going to get discouraged, you know? That's just what happens. I mean, but as a coach, you got to recognize that, and that's what he failed to do. You got to recognize what's working and what's not working. Chubb was not working. Bottom line, Sony Michel was working. Give him the rock, man. Feed this man.
Now, what I was saying,
you know.
Now, basically, what Alabama did and the adjustments they made by changing up the quarterback allowed them to do exactly what I said Alabama had to do to beat Georgia. You know, they went to a quarterback. They utilized more bootlegs. They pressed the ball downfield more, and they used their screens. That's something that Alabama does. That's not their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is handing it off to the running back and letting them pound it out and fight for yards. But what won them the game? Screen passes to the running backs, the bootlegs and scrambles by the quarterback, and obviously the downfield passing. Again, that's what. Again, I didn't see them changing quarterbacks. When they changed quarterbacks at halftime, I was like, oh. And as soon as that happened, it's kind of like, okay, maybe they're just going to rotate. They're just trying to find a spark. And when Tua threw that interception, that was Hurts in. That was his chance to rotate back in. But if Nick Saban, and like you said that Tua said in the interviews, post-game interview, it was like, hey, Coach said that we were going to rotate in and out. In, just not out. You know. And I don't think that there's a doubt in my mind that at this point that Jalen Hurts doesn't transfer out. I mean, in that post-game interview, like, he had to hold it. I mean, for a 19-year-old kid to hold that in and just smile for the camera and be there as a part of it for a team, knowing that, like, man, 2 years in a row, I lost in the spotlight. I lost the spotlight. I lost the national championship game last year. I had a comeback win, what I thought was a comeback win, taken away, and lost the game. And this, I just had a bad half of football. I played, and I won. He's lost 2 games in his entire football career. He has a bad half in the national championship game. Tula comes in, and you could just tell, like, he's like, yeah, I'm out. I'm transferring. Like, I'm done here. Like, it's like, there's nothing he can do. It's not his job anymore. He's going to have to transfer out. I don't think there's any question about it.
Yeah.
Who was
you
it?
Never know,
is
though.
it James, or was it you, or is it James is putting up Fromm? He's gonna be playing for Fromm next year.
Was that put who?
In the Fromm college. You never.
I know. I thought he was gonna be playing for Tuskegee.
Yeah, I saw the Tuskegee one. What is it? I think they're the Rams. I'll look it back. Fordham. Maybe it's Fordham.
FAU.
Is that what it is, FAU? Yeah, Fordham. He's gonna have to transfer out. But James, let's bring James on the line here too. James, you were there last night at the game. What was it like? First half and second half.
I mean, well, like I said, it was a tale of two halves. It was floating around, the whole stadium, throughout the game. Basically, I was mainly on Alabama's side for the first half, and then, Georgia's side on the second half or something. So, you just saw basically a tale of two halves. I think, Georgia was able to execute pretty well in the first half. I was kind of surprised about how, Georgia's offensive line was able to pass protect on different occasions for them to have time in the pocket. When you have time in the pocket against Alabama, you should be able to do what you need to do against those defensive backs. I think that, that first play of the game or first couple of plays of the game, I think they tried to, go big too soon and they ended up getting the ball intercepted. But after that, they kind of like settled down a little bit. And then, once they did that, then they were able to, get a few plays off. They kind of like, mix things up in the third and fourth possession that they had in order to get their first points of the game. But, they pretty much dominated Alabama's offense in that first half. And I think that change that Nick Saban made was necessary there. They had to do that. If they didn't do that, they weren't going to score. Because, when I was looking at that first half, I was like, Alabama was not moving the ball at all. They really weren't moving the ball at all. And so I just had, complete confidence that, Georgia was going to be able to hold them as long as, Hurts was out there doing what he was doing. But then, they made the change to, Tagovailoa, and, the rest is history, basically. Kirby Smart couldn't adjust on defense in there, and he called way too conservative plays on in the second half possessions, man. You had punt after punt after punt because you didn't take chances out there. So that's how Alabama was able to get back in the game.
And this is it. It's like you could tell when Tula came in, it didn't look like, it almost looked like they looked like Alabama in the first half, because they weren't. I think Alabama in the first half underestimated what Fromm was capable of and what they were going to be facing. I think they kind of underestimated what Kirby Smart was bringing out. And then that defense really stepped up. And then in the second half, it didn't look like Kirby Smart had at all prepared for Tula. For that sort of style to play. But that sort of style of play is that's what I was saying. That's what they needed to do to win. Saban recognized that. He changed the quarterback that could do that. And he said, listen, we needed somebody that could pass better. Tula does that better. So we went with him. He could pass better. It wasn't that we were going to rotate in and out. Like, he told them. He's like, no, I changed quarterbacks. And when he threw an interception, that was the end. He didn't come out. He stayed in the game. I mean, that pretty much, I think, sealed the career of Jalen Hurts at Alabama. You think he heads back to Texas? You think he heads to TCU? Or Texas A&M?
I don't know. He'll transfer somewhere. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe Coach Fisher hollered at Jalen Hurts a little bit, after the game. He was out there in the locker room, man.
Was he?
Jimbo?
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, I saw him coming out of the locker room long after the game.
And you know what?
Kiffin.
You know what's crazy about that?
Huh.
He'll develop him, too. He'll develop Hurts.
Yeah.
Kiffin's been trying to lure him down there all season. So on Twitter, go back and look at the tweets. I don't think he goes there. I don't think he would go to FAU. Yeah.
Nah, he wouldn't.
If he goes down there and balls out of control, he still goes to the league.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just saying, it's tough to see him going to FAU. Like especially if he had an option to go to Texas A&M. You know what I mean? He's from Texas. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I mean. Well, the thing is though, if he makes the decision, he had to transfer now, and then he had to sit out a year. And this would have been time for him to transfer last year.
Or what he does is he talks to them and say, hey, listen, yeah, I'm gonna come there, but I want to keep playing. Who's your guy on the JUCO level? So I can go play there, and then I'll come to your school. I'll transfer there after 1 year somewhere else. Because they work like that. They do that in college football and basketball. I mean, some people don't realize that. Like, they'll take these kids, like, say they don't make it academically. Sometimes they'll stick them in a JUCO that's close by. And they'll just eye them there, have them close by, so their recruiting process doesn't change, and then they'll bring them in once they got an associate's degree or something like that, once their academics are up after a year or two. So.
And you know what's funny? That's the story of Javon Wims. I don't know if y'all heard him talk about him yesterday, but he talk about a story for a young man. That guy, his family is from Miami. They moved to Jacksonville. He balled out of control at Ed White. He was a star at basketball. He also went. He kind of messed up. He had to go to a junior college. He sat out a year of playing football and still was highly recruited. He didn't play a year of football at all after JUCO, and everybody was coming from Miami, Florida State, everybody, Georgia, Alabama, and he chose to go. He chose to go to Georgia, as you can see, but he got hurt, man. He's a big part of the offense, of Georgia's offense. he's able to stretch the field. But yeah, man, that game, I'm still disappointed. That game had me pissed.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, like I said, they just like coach conservatively, which was a bad move, man. I didn't really, see that much as far as like versatility in the play calling or in the formations. It was just like, they wanted to be predictable, basically,
right
in that second half. And you can't do that against a team like Alabama.
And you know what's funny? I'm looking at Georgia the first half, and I'm like, their offense looks entirely similar to what Miami runs, like almost exactly the same. They bring in that package. Miami had a package where they bring in DJ Dallas or whatever, who used to be a former quarterback from Georgia or the Georgia area. And then Georgia has a package where they bring in a former quarterback that's had hella speed, and they do it with Michelle. It just, I don't know, man. I'm like, did Mark Richt call this guy or something? What's going on? That's what the whole first half looked like. Miami's whole offense, their whole playbook. It was just weird.
You don't think the players? You don't think players kept
had the concepts there, man?
The players didn't keep their playbook.
No, they got they got that dude Cheney or whatever. It just seemed weird to me, man. Like,
no,
this looked like what Mark Richt would run. It just
that's what they do.
Just weird. I mean, I don't know, man.
You're going. It's not a new thing. I mean, if there's plays, if you have a group of players, if you have guys that that there's something that they run well, right? That you can utilize. Just look at the Eagles right now. I mean, well, not right now. When Wentz was this year, like half of that playbook, good half of that playbook is basically what he ran when he was in college. I mean, Mariota, same thing. Deshaun Watson, a lot of those plays and a lot of the concepts that they're used with them is what they did in college. Using plays that work with a certain group of guys. I mean, that means you're just not teaching them something new. You're just giving them a different terminology for it. If they use something, if they borrowed something from Mark Richt that worked well, that's just good coaching. You got guys that know a play, they know the play, they like the play, it works. Why go away from it? It works,
Yeah, that's true. But why go away? Like I said, why go away from Sonny Michel? It works.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fans are not gonna let that go.
I feel like Nick Chubb said something to him, or Nick Chubb was, I don't know, or maybe he felt like Nick Chubb was being slighted, and he didn't want him to, he didn't want to do him like that,
Nah. That's all on the offense. That's all on the offensive playbook, man. You try to do something to play to the strengths of the Alabama defense instead of, stretching the field out. And you just playing to their strengths by doing that.
Everybody and their grandmother could see the explosiveness of Michel when he blew by those linebackers or DBs that were in the backfield. Like, can you not see this? This is what frustrates people. Do you not see this? When y'all talking on the sidelines and you see, hey, Michel just picked up 25 yards on 3rd and 23, I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. Man. Like, the man had the it factor that night. It was his night, and you took it away from him.
Yeah. That's what they pretty much did, man.
That Swift guy, why not run those plays that you did to Swift with Michel? Like, I was so confused. I was extremely confused. I understand you want to use 3 backs and all this. No, man, no. Go with your money, man. Like, it means a lot to these guys. Go with your money. Swift got 3-4 more years to play. Sit his butt down and let him learn something. Man, I don't even want to talk about it no more, man. They get me hot. Players from Miami, when they on the stage, when they on the big stage, it was a lot of players from. That's what we were talking about too in the group I was in. There was a lot of players from Miami Northwestern, a lot of players from all over Miami that was on that field that day. When those guys, the Ridley brothers, they came from the foster. They was in the foster care system. Those guys see the big lights, man. This is what they do. Like, feed Ridley. Little Ridley was ready. He's like, that's my brother over there. I'm gonna tear his behind up.
He wanted to show out.
Right. So you gotta understand, when you deal with players from Miami, you gotta get them the ball, man. Michelle was ready. This was his time, and y'all, I guess they didn't see it, man. They didn't see it.
Nope, they didn't. And the way that like I said, the play calling was, it was just like playing right through Alabama's hands. Yep, they tried to play safe and all of that. When you actually had Jake Fromm. As long as you gave him time, he was going to get the ball to the open man. I mean, you had openings. You had openings 7 yards downfield in the middle. You had openings on, in the deep route sometimes too. So, I mean, that's the thing that I didn't get. So, I mean, other than that one play for 80 yards for a touchdown, they really didn't do nothing, the rest of the game.
Right. And you could tell the lack of presence of a tight end. I remember David referencing. I'm like, what tight end do they have? They use a tight end for blocking. They use a tight end as a decoy. When did you see them throw to the tight end? They throw to the fullback.
Nobody did.
They throw to the fullback, and they couldn't get that connection the whole game. Like, come on. It's not working.
It was like I was saying. I mean, they had that opening in the middle, but it was a wide receiver going down the middle, wide open. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no tight end or nothing like that, because they didn't have any that ran routes, all too tough. So, I mean, that's what basically ended up being their downfall, though.
Right. You had a tight end in that game. They eat Alabama alive. So, there's no coming up with the linebackers. There's none of that.
That opening is there all day.
So, okay, kind of shifting gears a little bit to the NFL, the wild card games. I got the NFL Network's running a replay of the Saints-Panthers game. Now, the Mercedes-Benz Dome in New Orleans, that's turf, right? That's still turf, right?
Yeah. That's turf.
Because Christian McCaffrey has grass stains on his pants from field turf. Like, how does that happen?
Because they painted.
They paint the field turf?
Yeah.
No, in the end zones, but not the green part. The green part doesn't get. No, it's.
Oh yeah, they paint that. Oh yeah. Oh, they be touching it up. Oh yeah, they paint it. They be pellets all over the place, man. They do.
I don't think the field, not the green part. They don't touch that.
All right. And Disney doesn't paint their grass either. Okay.
It's called winter rye. Winter rye grass. That's what they do. Putting in the winter rye.
Yeah.
My neighbor put me on a winter rye one year. I was like, dang. That shit was beaming for like 3 weeks, and then it started getting a little warm. Shit turned brown. Like, looks worse than it did before. Damn you, Rick.
Yeah.
Damn you, Rick. He be putting down pounds of that stuff, too. Every 2 weeks, putting down some new ryegrass. I'm like, who has time for that?
I don't know.
I don't.
It's not me. And they got the money for it either.
Yeah, I hear that.
Redoing your grass like that, That adds up.
I was like, why don't you let me get a little bit of yours? My yard's so small. Let me get a little bit of that. He said, no, you just got to go down to the feed store. We go over, it's over right there. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Son of a bitch. I ain't got but 4 cups of grass area at my house in Tampa. It's like, Steve, you see my lawn? Like, you could stand on one side and pee all the way on the other side of it. Like, wouldn't even be an issue.
Literally.
Wouldn't even be an issue. But all the games this weekend, didn't matter if it was college or pro, all the games were entertaining, fun to watch. I think I watched them all. The first time I watched all the football games in a weekend in a long time. There's less games too.
Yeah.
Still.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
The only game I missed was Carolina and New Orleans. I missed most of that game because I had something to do. But I caught every other game. I was actually excited. I was like, man, because so many people was like, oh, the field looks bad. It's like there's not that many good teams. Nobody want to watch. It's like, dude, they play some good football. Those first.
And
4
okay,
games,
so
you know what I mean?
So the TV ratings, they're saying they're blaming the TV ratings for being down. Well, here's also the thing. It should be down. Be honest with you. The football fans, the people that wanted to watch good football, watched, and they got good football. They got the entertainment they were looking for, and it had nothing to do with protesting. What it had to do with which markets were playing in that time slot this year. So, like, you know, when you have, like, the Giants and the Packers playing in a time slot that now is the Panthers and New Orleans, who are 2 very locally based teams. They don't have expansive national brand or fan bases, you know. It's pretty much their region, their local market. Whereas the Packers, you're going to find everywhere throughout the Midwest. You're going to find Packers fans, you know, easily. And then the same thing with the Giants. I mean, it's the Giants, you know. They're the largest media market in the country. So when you have one of the oldest, most historic fan bases that's very spread out and broad, it's basically like having the Yankees and the Cardinals play in baseball in a World Series. That would be a tremendously successful World Series because historic, popular team, number 1 market, small market team, widely known and loved, you know, in the Cardinals. So it's kind of that sort of thing if you have the Giants and Packers playing. Whereas, you know, that's why there is a decline in the ratings there. So, again, and you're also kind of faced with Tennessee playing against Kansas City at Kansas City. Kansas City, again, they don't have a huge sweeping fan base. And in Tennessee, nobody gave them much of anything because they came from a weaker division. They've had one of the weakest schedules in the NFL this whole season. Still in it, though. But also, ESPN didn't promote the game. They sold short on that so they could go long on Ted Sherman's article. Ted Sherman, the one that did ESPN the magazine article on Brady, Belichick, and Kraft not seeing eye to eye and the tension or whatever that's going on there. So that article, they sold that heavy. And that paid off because all day Friday, all day Saturday, that's primarily what most TV and radio programs were talking about, even though it's still on Sunday. And then you get into Monday, you got the national championship game. You had some football games, and it kind of has died down. But they sold it heavy. They got more coverage and more publicity and more rotation out of that than they did with the deflected pass touchdown. But that was a fun game to watch. So, y'all still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we is. I don't know about I don't know if I echo the same sentiment in reference to like all of the wild card weekend games. I really didn't get that much out of the Kansas City game actually. Until the second half because the thing was with Kansas City game, it was pretty much like it kind of was like the national championship game, man. The first half, like Kansas City, had the opportunity to basically blow Tennessee out, but they couldn't do it, And then when Kelsey got injured, then it almost seemed like the whole offense just stalled, and that was surprising to me because you got, the leading rusher in the NFL this season out there, and surefire probably going to be the rookie of the year with Kareem Hunt out there. And you still got your receivers. You still got Tyreek Hill out there that can make plays and things like that. So I don't see how you could really, establish an offensive, game plan without Travis Kelce out there. Because it wasn't like, Tennessee had anything to really do a quick strike offense to like score anytime they wanted to. It was just that Kansas City just didn't do anything to keep the game in their favor. That's pretty much what it was. And Stevie though, what did you think about the Jacksonville game? Like how that turned out?
I liked it for the simple fact that as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, I liked it for the simple fact that Buffalo is not a team to be take lightly at all. They got a sound defense. Tyrod Taylor has been making magic happen, even though the coach can't see that. But, he was making every throw that you needed to make in that game. And on the opposite end, Blake Bortles was making every throw you didn't need to make in that game. So, the defensive side of the ball, it was a defensive game. And sometimes you need that in football, man. Everybody gets wrapped up in all that scoring. But I give the Jaguars credit for clawing it out and scored when they needed to score. I was implying that the middle of the defense was open all day. People want to give me a hard time, but I saw it. I know what Buffalo's defense, what scheme they run. You know what I mean? Like, the middle of the field is open on Buffalo all the time. And if you watch the New England game, like I was hinting to, if you watch the Jets when they played them, they ate them alive in the middle of the field. But it took a goal line play for them to do it, but still was in the middle. Anyways, I'm content, man. Yeldon is a big piece of that offense, and even though I don't know if people don't watch the Jags or what, they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, he pretty much booted Ivory out of there. Like, Yeldon thought he was reliable on third downs. He's a good blocking back on third down, actually better than Fournette. So, he's an important piece, and he's good at catching the ball out of the backfield. That was like Bortles' safety net for most of the year. But, the wind was blowing. He wasn't able to adjust. For a quarterback that hasn't been throwing the ball accurately when there's wind, it's going to be even worse. So, overall, I'm glad that they won. Now they got to regroup and find a way to get some offense because they can't do that against Pittsburgh. Even though they did do the same thing against Pittsburgh, to be honest with you. They got 5 picks. They had to run their offense.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's what's happened to the Jaguars most of the season. People haven't tuned in. Like, the Rams beat them. Like, Jacksonville had, barely any offensive possession. The Rams beat them on, special teams and things of that nature. If you look at the stats of that Rams-Jacksonville game, it was really weird. But, Jacksonville scored most of their points on defense. It's not a secret. People's like, oh, it's not the Ravens D. It's not, that old stuff. People like to hang on to the old stuff. I can care less about the old stuff, man. This is 2018. Like, different times, different offenses are ran now. You can't compare. Those offenses were predictable back then. You can't compare what's going on now in the league compared to what's going on back in 2000 and 99 when teams were still running two-back, high formation and stuff like that. Right. And relying on play action. People get so caught up in the past, it makes me sick, but, y'all want to live in the past. It's okay, but what if people watch that Jacksonville game, you look at the front four, man. Those guys are ridiculous. Calais Campbell, he stopped LaShawn McCoy with one hand, dude. Like, this man was going to break and probably score a touchdown. He reached for him with one hand, and the man fell down. Like, it was crazy. Calais Campbell balled out of control this year. What makes the Magic, their defense is so dangerous because they got all championship caliber players. If you look at their defense, most of those guys have went to the national championship. Sullivan Smith, Marcel Darius. It's a whole bunch of pieces of it. Calais Campbell. Those guys have been in national championship eras, you know what I mean? Like, national championship caliber defenses in college. Like, that Jacksonville defense, Telvin Smith, Jalen Ramsey, I don't know, where did Polanski come from? But just to say, they got ballers on that defense. If they're not going to lose because of their defense, they're going to lose because Bortles is not going to make enough plays to win the game. Almost like what they were saying about Bama and Georgia. Can he make plays? That's what they're saying about Bortles. Can he make plays? That remains to be seen.
Are you?
He hasn't had to have the pressure on him yet.
You doubting my guy Blake Bortles? Is that what you're? Is this what we? Am I hearing this?
Is that your guy, or are you trying to be funny?
No, I'm serious. I think I'm the only person that is an apologist or that is in support of Blake Bortles. I think I'm the only guy anymore.
Man.
He's a good. He is an NFL quarterback. He's a good quarterback. I just think that he needs more. He needs more.
More of what? Think so. Oh, man.
Time? How about more offensive line?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to put it to you like this. Blake Bortles almost became a victim of a quarterback that played too early. And, Blake Bortles is one of those quarterbacks that needed to sit. He needed to sit.
Yeah,
I agree. Playing right away or he needed to sit, man. Like, people don't understand. That's what the NFL is missing, man. And that's why I was saying about, they're not giving out NFL franchise quarterbacks anymore, man. Like, Breeze is still here. I went through the graphic, 2008, Breeze was there. Matt Ryan was there. At the same team, Brady, the Rivers, the list goes on and on. Like, they've been on the same team 10 years. You mean to tell me there hasn't been any other quarterbacks to come take their spot?
No.
That lets you know what's going on in the NFL right now. You know what I mean? Like, they're not giving out. These guys are playing past 37 and 38 now. Like, they're not giving out in
40 plus
franchise TVs anymore.
These guys are 40 plus playing right now.
Right. Phillip Rivers don't even look like he wants to retire. Or Drew Brees. They're going to play until they can't walk no more. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. If you ask these guys, I'm done, when you going to be done, they're not even thinking about it.
Hey, you know when someone breaks their ankles, they got that new little Neil scooter? Those Neil scooters? You know what I'm talking about? Instead of giving somebody a crutch, they give them yeah. Watch. You're going to see Phillip Rivers out on the field on one of them damn Neil scooters. Throwing the ball still. That'd be funny, though. Playing quarterback with an IV in. I don't know. Getting his treatment while he's calling an audible. And the thing is, they got with this guy who worked with, can't remember his name off the top of my head. He worked with Nolan Ryan and studied Nolan Ryan, and he said, listen, 45 is the age where your body, at 45, your body cannot physically repair itself or work in the way that it did before the age of 45. So that's why Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are all saying that they're going to play till 45. They all say 45 now because he has got that concept in their mind that, you know, you eat right, you do things right with your body, your workout right, your rest is right. You can work. You can do this till age 40. But that's it. That's the thing. They all feel like they can. But the problem, to highlight what you're saying is, and this is the issue. The bigger issue isn't that is talent not getting put into the league that could be that quarterback. Blake Bortles could be a top 5 or 10 quarterback in the league, without a doubt. I don't have any question of it. But because he didn't have somebody at the beginning and may have somebody now, but hasn't had anybody to this point that could help develop him, he's created all kinds of bad habits. There's a lot of companies out there that will not hire anybody that has experience. Like, for example, there's a company called Massey. Massey, they're a pest control company. And if you want to work for Massey as a technician or a salesperson, they want you to have zero experience in the industry. Zero. It's because they want to mold you and they want you to know what they want you to know. And it's funny. I was listening to Bruce Arians today. And he said, you know, the young guys, you get them in, you can brainwash them, and you can mold them into what you want. You get a guy like Carson Palmer, and you got to kind of meet him in the middle, you know. And you get the guy's 38, 40 years old. He has 2-3 kids, a wife, a mortgage, and life. He has life, a life. He's a grown up. You can't. Blake Bortles was his 5th year. This is his 5th year or 4th year in the league. You got 4 or 5 years in the league, and you got a guy just building up, thrown into the fire. You know, here's the thing: is they say practice and time doing thing makes you better, makes development. But here's the thing: is if you practice doing things the wrong way, you create bad habits. And that's what That's what Bortles has done. He's created bad habits. He hasn't had offensive line. He hasn't had skill players, particularly running backs, before this year in a situation where he has time or weapons or people around him that he can lean on, that he can be successful with. You know, he is athletic. He can scramble a bit. But we've seen that. He ran for 87 yards or something in the win over Buffalo. I mean, I think he had one more yard rushing than passing. I think that's what it ended up. I think he had 86 yards passing and 87 yards rushing. I think something like that. And I mean, it was better. It was better than, I think Marcus Mariota had one passing touchdown to himself. Now, that would have been awesome for fantasy because he would have got a passing touchdown and a receiving touchdown on the same play, which would have been awesome, right? One play would have been worth what? Like, it was like a 10-yard play, so, you know? So, it'd be like a 16-point, play. So... but you know, it's just that's it. That's the thing is he is one of those guys. If you sit him, let him develop. See, this is what I think they're going to run a problem into Peterman. I think Peterman's a wonderful talent. I saw him last year at the Shrine Game. He's a good quarterback. He's a good talent. But they're throwing him out there because they want to edge out Tyrod. They want to take Tyrod Taylor out. They want to phase him out. Stop putting Peterman in the game. Just let him be. And they end up bringing him in because they thought they didn't like what Tyrod was doing. They needed to ride Tyrod to the end. You know? I don't think Peterman has what it takes this year to do it. But Peterman in maybe mid next season or the season after, Peterman will probably be closer. You know, they got to take the concept is you get these guys in and you redshirt them. You know? You redshirt them. I think a lot of these guys should be redshirted, so to speak, in the NFL. You know? I think Jameis could have benefited tremendously from that. I mean, he's played decent. He's last year, he was kind of the top half of the league. This year, he's the bottom half of the league. You know? Struggle. But it's not to say that they're bad quarterbacks. You know, they need time and they need development. See, this is why everybody kept saying, like, you get all excited about Dak Prescott. Oh, he's this, that. He's a fourth, fifth round grade quarterback. And he shows it. He doesn't throw anybody open. He doesn't have the quarterbacking skill to throw people open. And when he doesn't have a quality run game, when he doesn't have Ezekiel Elliott,
90 seconds.
He doesn't have the time to throw and make the right decisions. So that's a struggle. It shows you he regresses back to the mean. He shows you he is a third, fourth, fifth round quarterback. But he's their guy now. So, but I think that's going to do it for the show tonight.
60 seconds.
We'll be back again next week. Same channel. And James has a show on Sunday at 7:30, The Boxing Source. Be sure to tune in. Or is it? No, it's on Saturday, isn't it?
Sunday.
It'll be on Sunday? Okay, it is on Sunday. So, sure to tune in to The Boxing Source on Sunday. Thank all of you for listening on Blog Talk, on the Spreaker app, SoundCloud, YouTube. We are out for tonight. Peace.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.